So, I'm throwing this in last minute before I forget. This speed paint is for Chubby Space Cat, who is a person on Instagram I follow. They're pretty snazzy. They're doing a little art contest right now, and you should do the thing. You should uh, enter the contest. It's fun. It's basically you just have to draw their little characters, and yeah, they're pretty cool. They make little comics and they're very snazzy. I highly recommend. I will put their info on the side of the thing. So yeah, you should do that. Uh, yeah, they're pretty cool. Hi. So I did a little poll on my Instagram, and people wanted to hear the story of how I got beat up at a Chuck E. Cheese. So that's the story time for today. As usual, you're probably gonna hear background noise. Sorry about that. I don't have any control over that. The fish tank is very loud, and my walls are very thin, so you're probably gonna hear neighbors and all that jazz, and construction, and pets, and yeah. Um, anyway, moving on to the story. So, when I was probably around like 5 or 6, around that age, my aunt and my cousins were older, and uh, they decided to take me to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't remember why exactly we were there, but they decided to take me to Chuck E. Cheese. Um, and uh, being little me, who couldn't really read or anything, I didn't understand a lot of the arcade kind of games. I didn't really understand them. I also didn't like how loud and intense they were. Um, so a little me obviously uh, wasn't too interested in that aspect, but I was interested in the little tunnel area. Um, I don't know if Chuck E. Cheese still does that, but um, they had like this cool tunnel area for little kids where you could like climb in, and they had like climbing things and slides and all that jazz. It was pretty cool. So I wanted to play in the climbing thing, the little indoor playground thingy. So that's what I did. I was climbing around and exploring, living my best life. It was pretty snazzy. And then I turned a corner and there was a little boy there. And we like made awkward eye contact for a couple seconds. And then he punched me really hard in the nose, and that hurt. Uh, I don't even remember if I realized I was bleeding at the time. I just remember it hurt. So I went through the nearest like slide to get out of the tunnels, because when you're little and you're hurt, you want to be comforted. So I went down the tunnel, dragging my blood through the tunnel. uh, and I found my aunt, and obviously, you see a little kid crying, bleeding all over the place. She was like, okay, well, what happened? Because that's not what you expect when you go into Chuck E. Cheese. You don't expect a little kid bleeding all over the place. So I explained like, oh, some boy in the tunnel punched me. I tried to describe what he looked like. I don't think I even really understood what fully happened at the time, just because I was kind of in shock. But I described him the best I could. I still have a good idea of what he looked like. He had the biggest hearing aids I've ever seen on a person. Maybe it was just because we were both really small, because we were both little kids, but his hearing aid was giant, and it was like a little robot. Yeah, so I tried to explain what he looked like. He also had like his tongue sticking out. Looking back, I do think he was on the spectrum somewhere. You know, being very young at the time, I don't think most kids really understood what that meant. I just knew he was probably around my age, and that he had his tongue out and he punched me. So, you know, I explained him the best I could. It was pretty easy to find him, because there's not a lot of kids that look like that in this little southern Chuck E. Cheese area. We were in the South, by the way, if that matters to help you visualize it. So yeah, our parents got their kids out because they saw little me covered in blood, and you know, they weren't entirely sure what was happening, and also the tunnels were all bloody now, and they didn't want their kids, like, you know, touching someone else's blood because that's like a biohazard and kind of gross. So I just remember a bunch of parents like gathering their kids, being all like, get out of the tunnels kind of thing. And there was kind of a big crowd. I didn't like it. I was anxious child. I didn't like the big crowd, but whatever. My older cousin, she ended up crawling into the tubes with like a bunch of napkins and ended up cleaning my blood out of the tunnel, which she actually got in trouble for because, you know, it's a biohazard. But they were like, you know, we appreciate you trying to help, but like, please don't do that. Let the staff clean it up because we don't want to be responsible if anything was to happen to you, kind of thing. The little boy's mom eventually found him, and she was mad. She yelled at him. Looking back, like, he was probably on the spectrum. I don't think he was fully capable of understanding what happened. Just judging by his reaction to things. Obviously that doesn't make it okay what he did, but like, I'm not mad at him. Like, it wasn't him going out of his way to be mean. I think he just wasn't capable of understanding what was happening. Because of his disability, it probably made him struggle to understand things like social cues and things like that. Which, you know, it's whatever. I was also a little neurodivergent child, so I kind of got it. But yeah, from what I heard from my little cousin, who I eventually told the story to, she lived around that area at the time, and apparently her and that boy went to school together. And she said that he actually ended up getting banned from that Chuck E. Cheese because of what happened. And like, I guess he kind of had issues with doing that kind of stuff a lot. But yeah, I guess he wasn't allowed back at the Chuck E. Cheese. And I don't really remember what happened after that. I think my aunt and my cousins and I just left, because, you know, getting punched kind of killed the mood. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not. It's not something I'd ever be mad at someone about, really. Like, he didn't seriously hurt me. He just like, I think he just bruised my nose for a little bit. It was fine. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a funny story to look back on. I don't really care anymore. But yeah. If you want to hear any more weird story times. Let me know. I do polls on my Instagram sometimes. Yeah, bye.